What's up guys, Lvladen here, and today I'm coming at you with a video updating you all about changes that have happened on the 11.1 PTR in addition to where I've been and some of my plans going into next patch. So the season should be winding down. Most people are predicting that Season 1 is ending by the end of February. I recently finished the Gladiator achievement tier. We got the Fellbat. Quite honestly, this is my least favorite gladiator mount. Like, look at how generic and ugly it looks from behind. Ugh. I mean, the front is kind of cool. The armor's nice, but this is quite literally like a Venthyr bat from 2 expansions ago. So, I mean, it's still kind of cool. We got it, so I'm pretty happy about it. Was one of the more challenging gladiator pushes. Along with end of the season, I am trying, if I have time, I'm going to try and get a rank 1 in solo shuffle. Currently number 7 on NA. And I think my alt is, I don't know, 20 something. So I'm going to try and stay fresh for the end of the season push. And if I do have time, I'm going to definitely try and get a rank 1. Never been a rank 1 before, outside of like during the mid season. But yeah, wish me luck. All right, so let's get into the good part of the video. So I've been doing a decent amount of testing on the 11.1 PTR. And in the past couple of weeks, we've gotten a handful of changes. So the first one I'll talk about is actually, it pertains to shifting damage from Empyrean Hammers. So that's the Templar, pretty much your secondary ability from the Templar tree here, Empyrean Hammers. They will now do 30% less damage, but all your other spells do 5% more damage. This is roughly, like, it's not a damage gain, it's not really damage loss, it's just a reshifting of the damage for Templar. The Empyrean Hammers do now prioritize your primary target, as long as it's player. So they prioritize player targets, rather, is what I should say here. So you're going to be doing more overall damage with Empyrean Hammers going into 11.1 because you're fighting, you know, your pets aren't going to absorb them. BM Hunters and Holy Death Knights, Monk Images, they're not going to bother you as much. However, the Of Dusk and Dawn change, buff, Blessing of Dawn, it's still not working with Hammer of Light. I really wish it did, and I really wish I felt more secure that they were going to fix this in time for release, but I don't. So currently at the moment, as of recording this, February 10th, this still does not work with Hammer of Light. However, Hammer of Light now has a faster global on 11.1 compared to 11.0.7, so it still might be worth using even if we have to deal with this bug. We'll see. All right, the actual good stuff comes now. So the Herald tree just got some big changes, and I'm going to go over all of them, not a handful. I'm going to talk about all of them here. So both Sunseer and Second Sunrise got significant buffs. So right now I'm on live on 11.0.7, and Second Sunrise does essentially nothing. This will be under 1% of your damage, like all the time. This just doesn't proc, and when it procs, it's not procking on an Anchi. Anchi is also nerfed into only an 80% buff in PvP. This talent and Sunseer really don't do anything. And in 11.1, Sunseer still not the best. It did get buffed, but Second Sunrise got significant buffs. Now, the Second Sunrise buffs make it so your Hammer Wrath and Divine Storm have a 20% chance to cast again at 50% effectiveness. That's a huge change. That is a significant buff to Second Sunrise, and since Hammer Wrath is just part of your regular standard rotation, that is going to be pretty awesome to buff your single target consistent damage. And then, obviously, you know, maybe we'll get lucky on an Empyrean Legacy proc and we'll hit a Divine Storm, like a bonus Divine Storm. That's pretty cool. Next up here, we have a buff to Sun's Avatar. Sun's Avatar, I believe, got a... I can't remember the number off the top of my head. It looks like 50%, but it doesn't math to like a 50% buff in terms of like comparing live to retail. But it is still a significant buff to Sun's Avatar. And this is doing like ticks of 76 to 100k now on 11.1. The buff is noticeable, especially if you have high uptime on wings, which is definitely possible with the new set bonus that we're getting. And now the most significant change, and this applies to Templar as well, but more so Herald, and that is the fact that Final Reckoning damage was essentially doubled on 11.1. And if you guys have been playing Final Reckoning for a while, remember back in the day when we had Seraphim, we could just set up a Seraphim, Final Reckoning one-shot in a blind. Final Reckoning used to do significant damage. Nowadays, it really doesn't hit that hard. It hits about as hard as a Final Verdict, maybe a little under what a Final Verdict hits for, and Final Verdict on live does not hit that hard. Now, Final Reckoning hits for just under, and this is if you ramp up your Crusade all the way, hits for just under what a non-crit Hammer of Light would hit. Hits about 1.4 million with 10 stacks of Crusade, non-crit. That's a pretty significant hit. That is a juicy Final Reckoning, which is great. I really like the fact that it's doing a lot of damage, especially since it's a 1 minute cooldown and it's significantly nerfed in PvP. The actual bonus to your damaging abilities is halved in PvP. So the fact that Final Reckoning now actually kind of has some oomph behind it makes it more attractive, to me at least, in Herald. And that's because with Herald, you actually have the option of ramping up Crusade super fast. You don't have to worry about pushing Final Reckoning at no stacks just to set up a nice big Hammer of Light in the opener. You can actually use Final Reckoning at 7 or 10 stacks on the PTR right now, and it hits really hard, and it makes it so your Final Verdicts are actually hitting harder too. And actually, now is a perfect time to transition into the PTR, and I'm going to show you what our burst damage looks like. All right, I'm on the 11.1 PTR here, and this is where it gets exciting. So I am running the 4 set on my helm, my chest, pants, and gloves here. And what this set bonus does is that every time, or not every time, but your spells and abilities, so that means your generators and your spenders have a chance to give you a stack of winning streak. And this increases your Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm damage by 1% in PvP, stacking up to 10 times. So we can have a maximum of a 10% damage increase on these abilities. And then when you lose your winning streak, you get a buff on your 4 set that actually makes it so you don't lose your Holy Power for 4 seconds, and your damaging Holy Power spender abilities are increased by 5% in PvP, 10% in PvE. This buff, when you get it during your Crusade, is actually insane. You can proc more Radiant Glory Wings, which spawn more Dawn Lights, which give you higher uptime on Sun's Avatar. You can get a proc of Winning Streak into your Final Reckoning window, which is insane. This is such a fun 4 set bonus. And also with Herald, the way Herald works here, you don't actually need to you don't need to send the Final Reckoning right away. You can give yourself a couple globals to stack up your Crusade before you send the Final Reckoning, and Final Reckoning damage is doubled. So this hits for roughly 1.2, 1.4 million with some Crusade stacks here. All right, so I'm going to show you what the damage looks like. So we're going to start off with a Judgment, Blade of Justice, Wake of Ashes, Final Verdict, Final Verdict, Final Verdict, Divine Toll, Final Reckoning, Final Verdict, Final Verdict. We got a winning streak, so we just spam Final Verdict as much as we can. Look at how many Final Verdicts we got in a row right there. That was actually crazy. Absolutely nutty damage. And then we just stack our winning streaks right back up. There's a Radiant Glory proc. And here we have our Wake of Ashes back. And we're just spamming Final Verdict. Waiting for another winning streak proc. There it is, another winning streak. So we're just spamming Final Verdict, Final Verdict, Final Verdict. Judgment, Final Verdict. And look at the uptime on Dawn Light. We have about a minute's worth of Dawn Lights on this target. That's nuts. This is a very fun build. Wake of Ashes, more Dawn Light stacks, more chances at a winning streak. Yeah, you guys are actually going to love this build, I feel like. It just is, it does so much damage. It's so fun, and the force set just makes it. There we go. You get a little sound indicator. Just spam Final Verdict as much as you can. And we're gonna have high haste this this build for sure. How many Dawn Lights do we have? 80. We have 90 seconds. We have 2 minutes of Dawn Light on the target right now. Absolutely so much fun. So that means in PvP, we're definitely going to be trying to spread our Dawn Lights more, because obviously you're limited in the fact that like this is going to be on your target. So what's the point of having 74 seconds of Dawn Light on a single target right here? It's not going to give you that much of a damage bonus compared to something like Templar. So you're going to be trying to spread your Dawn Lights to other player targets when possible. So obviously Dawn Light does not look like it did that much damage on the dummy, but that's because we have like another minute and a half of Dawn Light rolling on the target. So this is going to slowly go up and up and up and up and up. Also, Hammer of Wrath is not going to hit for 3.5 million in PvP. Sorry to say. Blessing of Anshi is nerfed to only an 80% buff on your Hammer of Light, so keep that in mind. But Final Verdict is where the real juice is at. You just spam so many of these, and yep, they are still not hitting super, super hard. Now, I do have most of last season's gear on. The only new season gear that I have is the 4 set, which is 678 item level. Everything else is still the old gear. But the difference is here, you're just hitting so many more Final Verdicts, and they're proccing your Dawn Lights by proccing your Crusades, which gives you more Sun's Avatar uptime. It's just a lot of fun playing this build, and I think players are going to find it fun, and I think PvPers are going to find it pretty successful. The only thing is, like, I can't give it a true comparison into Templar until the Templar Blessing of Dawn bug is fixed. Whenever the Blessing of Dawn bug gets fixed, then we can actually like get a true sense of is Herald like actually significantly better than Templar now, or are they about equal? I don't know, but from just playing it against a dummy, Herald has some serious synergy with the new Force Ed bonus. Very, very fun. But then, you know, Templar might actually have some synergy as well, because every time you spam a Final Verdict during a Shake the Heavens window, you're dropping 2 Empyrean Hammers, and those Empyrean Hammers now have basically 0 internal cooldown. So there is significant synergy with both specs. The difference is one spec is a little bugged right now, so it's tough to say which one is better. But I think I'm gonna have some fun with Herald here, and I also think Templar is going to be fun, and Templar could, you know, very well be very, very good as well. All right, if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.